So the next team up is has been making SOC Wars, so School of Code Wars. So it's a multiplayer game. You guys ready?
We are.
Yeah, I'm ready.
I'll hand over to you.
Perfect. Hello, everybody, and thank you for coming to our demo day. We are Team Buump. I am Cheryl, used to manage dentists in London. I joined the School of Code to finally have a career in tech.
Hello, everyone. My name is James Grey Goose. I used to be a primary school teacher, but became quite disillusioned with that, so thought I could affect the next generation of people through technology instead.
Hey everyone, my name's Tay. I used to be a family social worker. I got into that job because I wanted to help people, and I'd still like to do that, but I want to do it through code instead.
Hello everyone, I'm Vinny. I used to be a Brazilian, but now I'm doing my best to code better than I can joke.
Great. So as we know, the COVID-19 pandemic has hit us. It has confined us to our homes and limited our interactions with our friends and family. People are now turning towards technology and the internet to stay connected with one another. So as a team, we wanted to come up with a solution that would bring us together, that would be fun and enjoyable. And what better way to do that than a multiplayer online game? So before we started our journey to create the game, we wanted it to be engaging for different range of people, regardless of age and technical ability. We wanted it to be played remotely, given our current situation. And thirdly, we wanted to encompass technology that would make us possible to play the game online.
We researched a few browser multiplayer games that found this IO trend, which fits the idea that we wanted quite nicely, because it's just a bunch of easy games where you put your name in and you hit play and you're having fun with players all over the world.
Yeah, so let's look at user personas for a second. We had a look at quite a few, but the one we really concentrated on here, as you can see, is Billy, a student, probably around about 18 years old, probably quite computer literate. His main priority here is going to be to have fun, to meet other people in a nice, safe environment, and to be able to play online, given the current circumstances. But we also made sure we looked at other people as well, maybe people a little bit older, maybe not quite as computer savvy, but still want to go online, still want to keep in contact with family members. So that's why we thought it important to make it as simple as possible, but also maybe have functionality for different rooms that people could go into so they could play alongside other people that they actually knew as well. So let's have a look at our MVP. So we knew we wanted to create a game. We knew we wanted to create a game that had a narrative, was clear, and that people would be invested in. So they knew exactly what was going on and could become engrossed in this. We wanted people to have a choice of character, which is why we put in 5, which you'll see in just a second, so they could personalize their experience. We wanted to make sure as well that people could interact with other people in the game, but also see how other people in the game were interacting with other people as well. So we needed to make sure we had some kind of information at the top. We needed to make sure there was an endpoint to the game. So we wanted to make sure that there was a time limit on there, or somehow you could be knocked out by losing life or something like that. And finally, we wanted to make sure this was going to be online and was going to be reliable. So we needed to make sure that our servers were reliable and that we'd be able to have a number of people playing the game at the same time. So the next thing we looked at was user experience, and we used Figma in order to create a wireframe for our possible game. We knew we wanted to start with a video, and then that would explain exactly how the game was going to work. And then we would have a choice of characters that we could put into there. And then finally, straight into the game. What we didn't want to do, and we consciously chose not to have any kind of sign in, for example, with emails, because people might not want to do that if they're playing games. They want to get stuck in straight away. So that's what we did. So let's have a quick look at that game, shall we, Taylor?
Yep, here it is.
So this is our first page, our initial page. And as you can see, as I just said a few minutes ago, we wanted people to understand exactly how the game was going to be played and make it as simple as possible. So we based it around the School of Code. It's all to do with Chris and the School of Code people playing against each other. It explains the rules, it explains how the game works, it explains how you can level up or how you can be knocked out of the game. And it's nice and simple to use, all in one video.
When we press the start button, it takes us to these 3 rooms. The purpose of these rooms were to limit players to each room that would enhance their experience in the game. These rooms are customizable with different backgrounds and different time limits.
The React front end that you see here, we chose React because of its flexibility, and it's because it's one of the things we've been taught at the bootcamp. React front end emits everything that the game server needs to know about like the player you picked and the character, the name you picked for yourself.
Yeah, we talked quite a lot about the different game mechanics that we can include to make the game fun and accessible. And we decided on this 5-way rock, paper, scissors interaction between the players because we wanted people to sort of feel the highs and lows of being strong and vulnerable at different points in the game. So I'm going to be playing as Ben. So clearly I've got to watch out for Mr. Chris Mear there.
Mm-hmm. So as you can see, Teo's gone into the game. At this point in time, the canvas component now contains all the information that's going to be able to run this game for him. Who are you? You're Ben, are you, Teo?
Yeah. Well, so you've seen who I'm playing as, have you, James? And you're going to choose.
Yeah. I'm checking out already. Are you in room 2?
Room 2, yeah.
I'm coming in.
As we are waiting for James to join Teo, I would like to tell you that we used request animation frame, which calls our game loop at the speed of browser refresh rate and re-renders it, optimizing the game for the player.
You can also see that if the character is not up against the wall, it's centered around on the screen, in the middle of the screen, and that goes for any resolution that the user has. So it's responsive.
Yeah, we also we thought the social aspect of the game was really important, which is why we've got those events up there at the top to show the players, even if you can't see them on screen, you can see what your friends are doing.
Yeah, so the point of the game here is to get as many points as you can. You might see there are some School of Code icons around the place. So collecting those will increase your score, which can be taken away. And that's shown on the scoreboard at the end of the game as well. I'm going to get you.
Another wonderful feature that we added was the players could collide with each other and get points from one another. As we can say, maybe Chris is running after Teo and trying to bump into him in this game. Chris
stand still.
Rather than Ben, unfortunately. So this was one way of winning the game if the timer doesn't run out.
The game is constantly calculating the distance between each player, so that when the distance between two players is less than the sum of the radius, the game detects a collision.
Yeah, one of the most difficult aspects of the game, as you could probably see from that demo, was implementing realistic 2D elastic collisions between the players. So the coordinates of each player aren't just changed in the background when you press a key, but we're taking into account acceleration, friction, velocity, and mass to determine how they move and react to each other. So small players should ping off larger players who should remain relatively still. And if you change just a few variables in the background, you can make players feel like they're skating on ice or trudging through mud. Looks like I won that game, guys.
Yeah, never mind. Get you next time.
Planning had a huge role in our project because it enabled us to keep track whether we were ahead or behind schedule. And so that way we could make adjustments in our sprint reviews. And as you can see on our Trello board, we used a ticket and point system to determine priority and difficulty of each ticket to align with the agile way of working.
The feedback has been an essential part for our game as well. Once our MVP was created, we gave it out to the group to demo. We made sure we got continual feedback and made sure we made amendments according to the feedback immediately.
So although we used a bunch of technologies to make this game, WebSockets and Canvas were the two key ones that we learned. So Canvas allowed us to render our graphics in real time, whilst WebSockets allowed us that real-time rendering to be shared between our players. We did look at game frameworks like Pixie.js, Phaser, and Unity as well. But after some experimentation with those, we decided that the custom game methods that they gave us, whilst really powerful, didn't provide us with the same learning opportunity as building the game from scratch in plain JS. So, for instance, we probably could have imported a physics engine to use in the game, but instead we learned a lot more by writing it ourselves. And then also, yeah, our React Canvas front end, there are quite a few documented examples of this, but it definitely didn't feel like something which loads of people have done. But ultimately, the power of React allowed us to have a really smooth player experience before and after each game. What else? Oh yeah, initially we thought a mono repo would best suit the WebSocket game because the back end and the front end are actually really closely linked through the flow of events happening in the background. But when it came to deployment, we decided the combination of Heroku and Netlify would allow us to quickly test how each iteration of the game played online, so we could focus on its development. As early testing was integral to developing the game, we split the mono repo into a front end and a back end in our first sprint so that we could deploy it. And it was also a massive opportunity to become familiar with using microservice architecture on a daily basis.
Yeah, thanks, Ter. So if we analyse what we've learned in the past 4 weeks, we've come up with 3 main things. One of them was when to know when to work individually or as pairs, or when to mob program as well. Obviously, given the current situation, we haven't actually physically been in the same room as each other for quite a few weeks now, and definitely all of this project. So when to work in these particular formats was really important. When we started off and we were looking at the canvas and sockets, we tended to work quite a lot mob programming so we could make sure we understood everything that was going on, understand exactly how the structure worked. But then when we started putting the front end on with React, for example, we then paired off or worked individually to make sure we could work on different components and then push those up so we could keep on working on it. Another thing we learned a lot about was agile working, especially remotely as well. So every day we had stand-ups. We made sure that we looked at the successes from the day before and what needs we had for the day we were going into. We made sure we worked in 2-week sprints, and we kept on reviewing these and making sure that we were getting feedback from the cohort. They were playing the game and making sure that we could add extra features onto those, and working to a deadline of 4 weeks, which pretty much culminates now, actually. And finally, GitHub. We've been using it for a long time now, but it's been so important as version control over the past few weeks. We've been solving conflicts, making sure that obviously we're pushing all those things up and pulling down, and working in parallel work streams to make sure that we can continue to get everything working correctly, despite the fact that we're not actually in the same room. So yeah, some really important things that we've learned.
We have arranged our stretch goals in this timeline according to the experience we have acquired during the project, and with 1 extra week for each branch on the timeline, as you can see. So in a week from now, we'll have the ability for players to choose their character physics. Players will be able to create their own groups to play with their family or friends. 2 weeks from now, we'll have a chat function between players, because that's something done with WebSockets, and we have done this on the bootcamp before, so it wouldn't be too much of a stretch. We'll also have the ability for you to upload your own character to play with it. 3 weeks from now, we'll have created different game modes for you to have fun with, like the Infected or playing catch, and even the ability to level up your characters.
Thanks very much for listening, everyone.